It's hard to believe that the days of Killer Clowns,
Why'd you guys come up to this?
water bottle flipping, and comb over Taylor Swift are long behind us, but that was 10 years ago. It was a simpler time when YouTube vloggers, personalities, and beauty channels, YouTube drama and surfing videos just could not escape your personal feed and YouTube homepage. Things were not just simply mid, they were considered outright cancer. A time when apparently everyone knew how to dance, everyone knew how to sing. Having a funny, viral clip online got you a spot on The Ellen Show, and the closest thing to a global pandemic was walking into oncoming traffic. But on a more serious note, unfortunately, we lost a lot of public figures in 2016, many of whom happened to be musicians, artists, but also actors and other notable celebrities as well. But if there's one thing I've heard about 2016, it's that the music was just better. And so to defend the case, I've compiled a list of albums and a few of the most popular charting singles that showcase the best of the so-called golden year. So before we get into the albums, I think we have to address the elephant in the room. So does it hold up after 10 years? Yes and no. Let's not pretend it's some Black Thought Hot 97 on Funk Flex or Most Def at the Park on a random Tuesday, but the vibes are indisputably contagious. In terms of bars, rapping ability, tone, flow, delivery, Denzel Curry clearly had the best verse here. It's not really even a contest, but the whole vibe of the room is what makes this whole cypher so addictive. Everyone is feeding off of each other's energy. The ad-libs actually help everyone's case. While I would argue that out of everyone here, Denzel Curry once again had the best realized potential and consistency from his solo output past this point, and it's no contest really. This freshman class just had the greatest return on investment. I don't want to discount individual artists in 2011, for example, artists like Kendrick Lamar, Mac Miller, Lil B, YG, Big Crit. That's a pretty stacked year, but don't forget Anderson .Paak. Anderson .Paak, despite having a subpar cypher performance this year, had incredible realized potential in his discography past this point as well. And in terms of the Billboard Hot 100, give me Panda, Designer. I don't care that I have no clue what he's saying on the song, and it's probably nonsensical. He could be spewing hatred on the song and I would still listen to it. Also give me Black Beatles, Ray Stremmerd. Super catchy song. Love that track. And also, you know what? Give me Hotline Bling as well. I don't care that it dropped a year prior because Views came out in 2016, and for all those cheap beach summery Caribbean vibe knockoffs that chart, every once in a while you get a Hotline Bling. I genuinely like the production on that track and I'll die on that hill. I'll even take Bad and Bougie, Migos. Not huge on the Money Longer or the whole Uzi run from this year. Really the only blunder for this year for me was that Broccoli song with Dram and Lil Yachty. I don't know if that song will ever click for me, but I respect it. And while not as big of a single, give me Caroline by Amine. Can't forget that track as well. Now in terms of albums, you can't really top the overall consistency of 2016. I would say 2018 and 2025 are probably the closest that we've gotten to the behemoth that is 2016, and that's why I've selected 15 albums here. I just couldn't narrow it down to 10, but shout out to Schoolboy Q, Blank Face LP, Absol, Do What Thou Wilt, Westside Gun, Fly God, Skepta, Konnichiwa, YG, Still Brazy. Great records that are nearly interchangeable to many records that did make the top 15. So starting with number 15. You know, these are just silky smooth, robust, luxury, sophisticated, expensive sounding Griselda beats. Despite being composed of relatively simple loops, Mach-Hommy has always been this more elusive, mysterious figure, and you sort of get that vibe with a subtle, relaxed, easygoing, nonchalant delivery across this album, using verses and little skits or segments scattered throughout the album that muckrake and expose corruption, history, culture, underground, socio-political Haitian commentary. Truly just an amazing listen. You know, before he was bullied into a hiatus of not making music for 6 years, Chance the Rapper used to be that guy. And Coloring Book really does a great job fusing gospel into hip-hop, and while someone would dismiss this project for being corny, there is this genuinely uplifting energy that's honestly very rare to come by in rap music in general for the most part, but Chance satisfies that near impossible task. There are just some beautiful choir moments all over this project. While it may not be my personal favorite Denzel Curry project, Curry is one of the most consistent discographies in hip-hop today. That's just indisputable. This project is super solid. He knows what beats to pick. He can write hooks, catchy melodies. These are just anthemic, chant-worthy bangers, and that's why as an artist, he's just so talented. If he wants to spit, he doesn't hold back. If he wants to write a personal, introspective piece, he can. He has the capacity to. If he wants a catchier, more accessible vibe, he knows how to play that angle too. So yeah, just super consistent album. Now, before you make any judgments, you have to admit that this album is just so much fun to listen to. It's not trying to or meant to be super profound. It knows it's tongue-in-cheek. I mean, just look at the tracklist titles. I just love how weird and animated these vocal inflections are, the way that these hooks are written. I mean, who else delivers lines like NASCAR race and earn it, you dig, you dig. The 808s are ignorant and disrespectful. The 808s have this strange elongated envelope to them that tear through any sound system you have, especially the tracks Riri and Kanye West in particular. Absolute speaker knockers. Thugger's ad-libs are just as wild and important to the identity of these tracks as the hooks and the verses themselves. And what better way to end an album than Pick Up the Phone? I mean, Pick Up the Phone might just be my favorite beat of 2016. One of the highlights off of Birds in the Trap for sure. Just great production, great lineup. Definitely the most understated and moody rap album listed here. If there's ever a rapper whose lyrical content will just fly over your head, it's Ka. There's this very cold, jaded, yet introspective, elegant internal monologue aesthetic to this whole album. I mean, he's even self-aware enough to state on the first track, Conflicted, I speak brass tacks to my last acts. My gift might be missed if mixed with trash raps. In a world where antics and flamboyance and pyrotechnics seem to win over the masses and hog the commercial industry, Ka has no problem upholding his integrity and sticking to his guns for his overarching artistry. And in a way, that's an echo to the meaning to a lot of these tracks, having the self-control to balance and really survive in a harsh environment and maintain a level-headed morality and track record. These beats are dark, cinematic, grand. It really does feel like the climactic moment where the protagonist of a movie has to make the correct moral decision and be the bigger person, even if the outcome won't be beneficial to them personally, but their long, arduous journey has led them to this momentous occasion. And yeah, just rest in peace to Ka. Amazing album. You know, every once in a while you get one of those lyricists that you can just tell they did their homework, and A$AP Rock is no exception. I mean, you need a dictionary and a PhD just to understand some of the bars that are said on this album. There was actually a study done on the vocabulary complexity of popular rappers, and if I remember correctly, A$AP Rock just lapped everybody, swept the whole competition. The wordsmith, the flows, tone, articulation. I mean, it's like a virtuosic performance. You can just listen in amazement. And I'll just read you an excerpt from the third verse of the song Dorks, just for you to get a taste of what this is about. It goes, I view the rattling of sabers like a show to expose insecurities exploding in emotional code, when braggadocio to go from mostly jokey to gross, corrode a homie till his probity is notably ghost. Before the hobby was a jobby, was a miniature hell, you would wobble round your mama like an infant gazelle. Or take the ending of the track Shrunk, for example. She said, when you start getting all expressive and symbolic, it's impossible to actualize an honest diagnostic. I said, when you start getting all exact and algebraic, I'm reminded it's a racket, not a rehabilitation. Or how about verse 2 of the final track, Molecules? That's impossible, body's still warm, scavengers already obsessively knocking on his molecules. I'm catatonic fat and out of rocket fuel and ramen, not $1 watching Rocky 2 and Donatello boxers. I mean, someone just stop him. He writes tongue twisters for a living, and this whole album is just full of incredible rhyme schemes, wordplay. You definitely don't want to miss this one. Instrumentally, this is probably the most impressive album on this list. Super colorful production. It feels like a live neo-soul jazz fusion band is playing right in front of you, especially the drumming, just super locked in the pocket. Beautiful keys and harmonies going on in the background. Just listen to the track Sunny Duet for this bizarre, off-kilter, disorienting groove. The track Diddy Bop, No Diddy, just feels like floating, no other way to describe it. Beautiful kalimba type instrument on Reality Check. Amazing melodies on Shadow Man. Not to mention No Name's very casual, relaxed, agile rapping, almost conversational in nature. So if you're a fan of that Monty Booker type production, you're gonna love this project. The final studio album from legendary hip-hop group A Tribe Called Quest, and they send us off with a treat, a double LP, 1 hour of just bliss, amazing sampling, beats, creative bars, politically charged and relevant even 10 years later. Everything that made this creative collective great is on full display in full form on this album, and I can't really think of or say a bad thing about this one. Just rest in peace to Phife Dawg. This album doesn't just feel like you're watching a sci-fi horror movie, it feels like you are one of the characters in the horror movie. If John Carpenter's The Thing and 2001 A Space Odyssey had a baby, it would be this album. It feels like an intruder abduction is present. The industrial noise elements genuinely frightens the living daylights out of me listening to this album alone at 1 a.m. And Clipping went on to do some more amazing horrorcore concept albums later on down the line, but don't write this one off for sure. A hip-hop rooted album with a hardcore punk ethos, this album, in line with many other Death Grips releases, feels like being shrunk into the sides of a data network packet and zipping through the inner workings of a computer, and then being shot into the multiverse of the internet and experiencing every coded input all at once, sensory inputs being overwhelmed, fried, an assault on all the senses truly, being dangerously tossed around in a sea of ones and zeros. Death Grips doesn't seem to discriminate against any sample choice, and they don't need to because every sound is just bit crushed and manipulated into obscurity. You might almost feel a bit physically exhausted after listening to this album, since MC Ride is putting his body on the line in these performances. So creative, so energetic, just an amazing album. Kendrick Lamar's been getting a lot of attention, shining in the limelight, especially as of late, but obviously he's been putting out high quality, reflective, introspective material for over a decade now, and despite this minimalistic packaging aesthetic of this album, the sound of this record could not be more polarizing and different. And you know, if there's one similarity to Young Thug that I'll make here, Kendrick is not afraid of putting on these zany affectations and voicing these wild characters in his verses. And you know, sometimes the lines we draw when describing something as jazz rap can get kind of blurry because the producer borrowed, you know, just one phrase of a jazz record and put it on loop to make the beat, and now we call it jazz rap all of a sudden. Not to discount that as jazz rap, but there are some legitimate jazz and funk passages and structures that show up on this album, thanks to inclusions of great musicianship, such as the impossible bass lines from Thundercat, for example. Kendrick's flow, wordplay, storytelling mirrors the form like that of a true jazz musician, like Coltrane ripping through 32 bars improvised over key changes. It's like watching an impressive balancing act, but Kendrick actually gives us food for thought to chew on the drive home. Endlessly entertaining listen, just an extension of everything that made To Pimp a Butterfly great. I don't really need to explain this one. I mean, the track list is just stacked with heavy hitters. Ultralight Beam with the most explosive choir ending ever. Father Stretch My Hands with those insane sliced hi-hats that feel like shurikens being handed out one by one. The track Famous and that great Sister Nancy flip. Waves with the most colorful vocal chop ever. FML with that incredible Weekend feature. 30 Hours with some of the most honest bars on the whole record. No More Parties in LA where Kendrick Lamar spazzed. Even Kanye spazzed. A lot of hip-hop purists were surprised he had this left in the tank still. Saint Pablo with that mind-blowing Sampha chorus. In my opinion, there are just some moments that go toe-to-toe, if not actually surpass the wild experimental goals that were set out on projects like Yeezus, but managed to wrangle them into complete song structures. I know this was a lot of people's personal pick for the best hip-hop album of the year, and it's really not hard to see why. I mean, in a lot of ways, this doesn't even feel like a hip-hop album, more like a vehicle for Denny Brown to transport us into his mental landscape. These samples are just otherworldly, bizarre, dark, twisted, weird, psychedelic, dizzying, and more than an album, this is truly an experience. One with many unexpected hallways, corridors, left turns, wrenches, and ugly truths just unraveled. This album is just absolutely overflowing with personality. To me, this album is sort of a victory lap, a triumphant celebration of years and years of grinding, hardship, unsuspecting underdogs that finally get the payoff, probably the catchiest rap bangers of the year, and yet a heartfelt story, as told on the final track, Look Mama, I Did It, of a couple guys who started off at a dentist office and just a dream to make it, and you have no choice but to root for their success. I mean, Injury Reserve just has so much mic chemistry, they never lose their sense of humor, that The ending of All This Money is just so entertaining. Richie with a T finishes the last verse and says, I don't care if you have $27 in your paycheck. Go take yourself to H&M or Zara, get you some shirts. Just don't get the ones with a zipper on the side. And on Bad Boys 3, the line, we look like rap Weezer. Monstrous kicks to kill a verse on What's Goody. This album is just non-stop fun. Only other thing I'll say, just rest in peace to Groggs. This album is just the complete package. Incredible, hard, futuristic production with witty one-liners, amazing chemistry, mic chemistry between Killer Mike and LP. It just feels like witnessing a righteous victory lap. Gives me a similar feeling of confidence that comes from that Injury Reserve album. And like Denzel Curry, just a near flawless discography from these two. Two legends just trading off addictive verses. And what makes this dynamic duo so great, I think, is best described by Dead End Hip Hop. That Killer Mike's louder, more abrasive delivery pops out at you on the surface, whereas LP is sort of the stealthy killer in the night where you have to rewind the track back a couple times, and even still the bars may just fly over your head. Mind-blowing album, impressive album. If you need something to just lift your spirits up the way Killer Mike and LP support each other and feed off each other's energy, do yourself the favor of listening to this one. Thank you so much for watching, and let me know in the comments, what is your favorite hip-hop album or song of 2016, and has any year been comparable in your memory since then? Consider subscribing if you enjoyed, and that's it for me, and I'll see you in the next one.